Let's talk some Florida State recruiting because the Noles, they're coming off a busy weekend of official visits, and they have another one lined up right around the corner. I got FSU recruiting insider Michael Langston on this video. We're going to break it all down, but first, FSU fans, go ahead, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We're trying to grow this thing. We need you FSU fans to be a part of it, so hit the subscribe button for me, please. All right. Let's bring on Michael Langston of War Chant. Mike, we got to look back before we can look forward. You guys at War Chant do an incredible job of covering everything, but I want to talk edge Zion Grady, the number 11 ranked edge in America, the former Alabama commitment. Now, since he decommitted from Alabama a couple months ago, it's been FSU, it's been Miami, it's been Georgia, it's been Auburn. But what are you feeling coming out of this? Where does FSU stand?
I think they feel really good about where they sit, just on the stuff they accomplished. Zion said kind of every time I go there, it's something I learn something new and more. But there's just I think there's a different feel of development of just how he feels. That doesn't mean other schools don't do it. I think it's just there's a high comfort, just feeling at home when he's there at FSU, and I think that's why a lot of times even going into these visits, Steve Wilfong from On3 has said FSU is a team that's probably is ahead of others. I think I think FSU, Ohio State, I think Miami certainly, but even more so Ohio State of teams that are heavily in there. Georgia's another team, but we haven't heard them quite as much as the other teams. But I think overall, even though there's still visits left, I think FSU feels pretty comfortable, I guess, where their position is right now, the relationship and what they've done. So we've seen this before, how there can be some shifts on, different things that, slightly can, turn a kid's attention or favoritism of things. But I think FSU feels pretty good. And I'd probably agree with them based on the intel I got coming out of this trip so far.
Yeah, forgot Ohio State. How could I? That official visit a couple weeks ago was huge. Let's move to the number 4 running back in America, Usman Kromah. This one's been trending in a bunch of different directions. For a while, it was thought Florida State was the favorite, maybe Georgia. Now, coming off an Auburn official visit, you hear a lot about the Tigers. But what did you learn this weekend when Usman Kromah was on campus?
Yeah, I was really shocked of how much of a dynamics there were as far as, I guess, positivity, as far as what I've heard throughout the weekend on Usman, because as we've talked about a few times, they've been fading away in this recruitment. They've been not a team that I've heard. I mean, there's times where he won't visit. He'll visit other schools like Miami and Auburn. He hasn't visited FSU, so we heard that he was fading away. And then this visit happened, and then he brought all his family. He brought the most family probably I've ever seen out of an official visitor, and just throughout the visit and after the visit, I've heard there's a lot of FSU feels like, hey, we know we're strongly in it. We know we're right there in it, and I think the concerns that they had of already having Cam Davis in there, a talented freshman that's physical and does some of the same things that Usman does. I don't think that's a concern. I think the fit is there. He's always had the relationship with Norvell and certainly Coach Yak over there at FSU, but I think this one was more where he got a detailed look at everything, and I think he sees the way that they developed different guys like Trey Benson and Lawrence Toafili and all these guys. So I think it really hit strongly on this official visit weekend. I would still say, for me, I think FSU's biggest fear is, I guess, factor would be was Georgia. I think, but Georgia just picked up their second running back commit, so you wonder how that changed the dynamic. Maybe Auburn, is the main threat. So I think that's kind of where they said, I guess, going into this. But they're a major factor now, and I definitely I didn't think I would say that, Josh, before this visit happened.
Okay, yeah, it did seem like FSU was fading in this recruitment. That's good to know. Now, probably the biggest news coming out of the weekend was DB Laran Clarity. He's from Pensacola, top 200 prospect, but he came out, named FSU as leader, and is now trending heavily to Florida State on the recruiting prediction machine. Is this one that Florida State could close on, maybe jumpstart summer recruiting with a commitment from a top 200 guy?
Yeah, this just feels like one that's I don't know if I want to use the word imminent, but
Mm-hmm.
it just feels like it's going fast. And this is I mean, he's from Pensacola. He's always loved FSU. He wanted to see being prioritized. He certainly got that in heavy doses this weekend. Nicknamed Squirrel, by the way, for those that are wondering, that's what his nickname is. But um, a guy they highly wanted in this class. But I just have a feeling, Josh, that I would not be surprised if this one went faster than I guess a lot of people expect. Where there's been talk about officially visiting Mississippi State and Washington or somebody else. I could see him, even before that, officially just wrapping this thing up, or maybe taking one official visit and then bam, he's done. I just think overall this seems to be trending in for me, in my opinion, in a imminent spot of FSU, getting some good news, to start this summer.
All right. Now let's look ahead to this coming weekend. Now there's going to be a bunch of visitors closing in on double-digit official visitors. Go over to War Chant;
Yeah.
they'll get you covered. But there's two that I want to talk about because they seem like maybe they seem like long shots to me, but I want to get your opinion. Justice Terry, the USC commitment, he's out of the state of Georgia, the number 2 defensive lineman in America, and then you got Khaleke Lockett, the 5-star wide receiver, out of the state of Texas. Saxe, Texas is where he's from.
Yeah.
Met Khaleke here at the Nashville On 3 Elite Series. Great prospect, great looking prospect. Of the two, who do you think is a bigger long shot, and what's the goal of this weekend?
Yeah. Both good questions. I'm gonna say that the bigger of the long shots is, for me, Justice Terry, just because I feel like Georgia is the biggest threat
Yeah.
to pull him. Um, with Khaleke Lockett, I mean he is. I mean some of the things Khaleke Lockett is eyebrowsing. You raises your eyebrows when you hear it. The stuff he said, both in Nashville when he was there for the Elite Series, and when he was in Tallahassee for the unofficial visit he
Mm-hmm.
took. I think there's really strong interest in FSU with Khaleke. I just very skeptical that you can hold off a guy that it's clear the home state team really wants him, and it's clear he really likes them as
Yeah.
well. So it's hard for me to see that, but I think the end goal is really just hey, we're going to show you what FSU is, what the uniqueness is of FSU, the not just the development, but we're going to show you a personal side of FSU that you're just not going to get anywhere else. You're not going to experience the personal connections that you do when you see how our players are with you and how they are with us. And they feel confident. I think that you're not going to experience that anywhere else, and I think that's a big thing. And then two, I think what you'll see a lot of is I think you'll see a lot of buzz after the visits of just how involved the head coach is and Mike Norvell in these official visits. And is it like your usual where you get there, hey, you see the coach and you might not see him for a day or maybe at the end. It's like Mike Norvell is involved in all aspects
Mm-hmm.
of these visits. So I think that's going to be a big tell where how much impact that makes on the guys. And then with Justice Terry, I mean, that's a guy that's visited FSU several times. Really good relationship with Odell Hagens. Really good relationship with Alex Atkins. So I'm not going to close the door. I'm just saying there's a little more work to do to create that buzz that they're kind of looking for. But certainly, I think FSU could certainly make a big impact on both of those guys.
Yep. Going to be a big weekend. All right, Mike, closes out. Any other names this weekend that FSU fans need to keep a close eye on?
Definitely all eyes for me, Josh, is on 4-star wide receiver Joshua Moore. That's the
Yep.
guy that I feel like out of anybody visiting this weekend, you can certainly make a big impact. Just a guy that resonates with this offense. He loves this offense. He gets separation. He's what they covet. They don't have a wide receiver commitment in this class yet, to my knowledge. Maybe I'm missing one, but I think he can kind of really get this thing going and cranked up for FSU. When you think about there's tons of guys like Dalen McCutcheon. There's a lot of guys they're heavily involved with, so that kind of get the ball rolling. I think
Mm-hmm.
with a guy like Joshua Moore, Florida's certainly strongly in there, but I think that's a guy. And then you have several other targets that are coming this weekend that are Zay Rainey Sales, linebacker out of Washington, officially visited was FSU commit at one time. You have a new one in four-star wide receiver Malik Clark, who they've been working on behind the scenes for a while. So, and then Iverson Howard is another one. Iverson Rocket Howard is a running back that they like. Now you have Byron Lewis and you have Usman Kromah, who seem to be the top guys, but there could be a lot of dynamics get created this weekend with a lot of unknowns of talented players that they've been working behind the scenes, but where do they really sit in these recruitments?
Mhm.
So I think there's a lot of excitement and a lot of intrigue, and certainly we'll be out there certainly to cover it all. But I think it's going to be another big recruiting weekend for them, Josh.
It's absolutely going to be another big recruiting weekend in Tallahassee. Mike Langston from War Chant, you guys are going to be working overtime this weekend. Appreciate you taking a
Yes,
little time dropping by the Inside Scoop today.